I don't know how some of you felt at the time God of War 2018 was originally announced, but I know that I had that feeling of disappointment. Not a lot of disappointment, but I was a little disappointed. The gameplay reveal left me with a feeling of, I don't know, this looks like Sony being Sony, and now they're trying to Last of Us everything. I couldn't have been more wrong. This game is so much more than that, and then some. Let's not waste any more time and dig right in. It's hard to imagine that I could even tell you guys anything at this point about the graphics in this amazing game that hasn't already been said. I could sit here and sing the praises of this game's visuals until Ragnarok. We could say the camera never cuts, and we could talk about how impressive that is, because it is impressive. It's quite the achievement. It is quite the achievement, not necessarily anything new that they were able to do something like that with a game that looks and plays the way God of War does. And things like that do impress me, but it's the level of detail in the characters and the environments in this game that are most special. Kratos in particular, obviously the star of this game, has never looked better. The poly count on him must be ridiculous, as well as Atreus. Anyone that's anyone in this game is very well done. Even if I just consider the more basic enemy types in the game, you can tell that a lot of work went into making those guys look absolutely incredible. When you see a cutscene in this game, or maybe we should just call it a scene or a story scene because the camera never cuts, the wizardry at work here is damn near perfection. The gameplay levels of detail on Kratos and the other characters do change a bit when there's a story scene, but this is easily one of the better examples of not completely destroying the detail from gameplay to cutscenes that I've ever seen. And you are not ready for the particle effects in this game. This game has a lot of particle effects, and they use them well. They're absolutely insane in God of War. This game is beyond colorful, and if you've got the right display to push things like that, or just, beyond a resolution like 4K, you're really going to enjoy seeing this game. It's just another great example of one of those games where your jaw is on the floor pretty often because you're just like, how did they do this? How was this accomplished on such terrible hardware at that? Talent, man. Talent and good hard work will always be the answers I come up with because they're the only answers that make the most sense. And try to keep in mind that I did play this on a new 55-inch LG OLED. I got the HDR hotness going, and my colors are all on point. My first playthrough of this game was very special. I'll never be able to get that back, but this one was different and special in its own right. God of War is just truly something for the visuals. My video quality is normally really good, but it will never do this game the justice that it deserves just watching it here on YouTube. You have to play it for yourself. Even if you're just playing at 1080p, this game still blew me away. Like God of War 3 before it, man, I think in many ways this is Sony's best looking exclusive on PlayStation. Certainly one of the things that disappointed me the most in those early looks at the game were the changes to the gameplay. I was not happy with that, and at some point I was even telling myself that I wasn't going to play it. Like, I refused to play this Last of War nonsense. What the hell are Sony Santa Monica doing? And then you play it, you're an hour or two into the game, and I was pretty hooked. Any fears that I had originally were quickly eliminated, and Sony Santa Monica have done something very special here. The camera angle wasn't the only thing that changed. Everything changed. The camera is different, the movement is different, and a lot of the abilities are different. And I think one of the better decisions they made on the gameplay front was the extra effort put into upgrading your weapons, your armor, your overall progression in general. And I was never bored with God of War because I felt like there was always something new to do, something new to find and unlock. You get 2 weapons in God of War. Well, I guess we could say that there's 3 if we're talking about the shield options and abilities, and then there's your rage burst, of course. A lot of the gameplay that you've seen has likely showcased the axe more often than not, especially from the earlier footage. The Blades of Chaos are your second and much later option. I find the Blades of Chaos are still awesome, and I wouldn't fault anyone for feeling like they're the best in the game. And I agree, for specific situations, certain enemy types, the blades should be the weapon of choice. But I grew to like the axe a lot more in this game. The axe is just so much better for me. It's got that really good punchiness and solid feel to it that I like. Every strike on an enemy, it's brutal. The way you chop your way through some of these enemies, the animation work is insane. I guess I just find the axe to be a lot more satisfying to use. After you start leveling that thing up and getting some of the better skills, it's just not even fair how badass this thing can be. You can throw the axe anywhere you want, as far as you want, and return it to Kratos with the quick press of a button. It's their version of the boomerang mechanic, but it works so damn well that I couldn't stop throwing it in certain areas of the game. Sometimes I just throw it only to return the axe immediately after because it looks so damn cool. You should probably get very familiar with throwing the axe around anyway, throwing it around a lot, because outside of the game's puzzles, yes, there are those, and some of the traps and such that you'll need the axe for. Once you start picking up some of the better enchantments that you can have in the game, you can take some of these enemies out in 1 or 2 axe throws. There is one particular upgrade to the axe that makes the throwing and the callback damage insanely accurate. And now that my mind is on the enchantments in this game, holy crap, there are a lot. Some of them are very helpful and others are beyond helpful. And just a pro tip for this review, try not to make the same mistake I did. When I first played this game in 2019, I missed something along the way and didn't realize that you could socket certain pieces of armor or your talisman with enchantments until I was a little more than halfway through the game. I definitely could have made those first couple of Valkyrie fights a lot easier on myself, that's for sure. This was a lot different though. I knew exactly what I wanted to do in the playthrough for this review: become a true God of War, get those cooldown points as high as possible, and by the end of the game, in the last few Valkyries, I was pretty much unstoppable. And it's crazy to think that I know for a fact that I missed a few things here and there along the way, and I could have been even more unstoppable than unstoppable, if that's even possible. I use Kratos' special attacks a lot, like a lot in this game, and I think you'll need to for certain enemy types, the Valkyries, for example, or some of the game's challenge areas. Many have referred to the Valkyries as the Dark Souls-like enemies, or, you know, the main real bosses of God of War. It's going to be a great day when we can finally stop comparing anything and everything to Dark Souls. This game has been called Dark Souls Light by many people, and I guess I could see how some would make that comparison. The Valkyries, they are challenging though. I won't lie to you. If you choose not to fight the Valkyries or do some of the game's, you know, challenge areas that give you amazing items, by the way, if you don't want to do those at all, that's fine. Or if you don't want to do them until you're 3/4 of the way through the game or later to make them a lot easier on yourself, you can do that. If you're just trying to push through the main story and avoid a lot of that stuff altogether, you can do that. Valkyries are some of the most fun enemy types, or just, you know, one of the most fun things that you can do in the game, because each of them has her own unique abilities. I believe speed and overall movement, depending on which one you're fighting, is different from each other as well. Defeating a Valkyrie will provide you with some of the game's best rewards, and that's why I say, you know, in my opinion, it's best to fight them and not avoid them. It's a must if you want to feel pretty OP by the end of the game, and that's what I wanted. That's exactly what I was going for. It's a weird thing for me, guys. Some games just get things so right and so polished that even while not in combat, the game can be fun. Realm travel is fun in this game. For some reason, to me, it's fun. I wish there were more realms, but what is here is great, and you'll spend most of your time in Midgard regardless. Upgrading with Brawn and Sindri became super addictive for me, and I don't even know why. I was always looking for that next 50k hack silver, 100k hack silver, because you're going to need a lot as you progress through the game, or that ultra rare item to upgrade my armor and talisman, for example. I really can't wait to dig in a bit more and see what New Game Plus brings. I haven't even mentioned the side quests in this game or the stories that Kratos tells Atreus as they explore Midgard. There is a really good amount of those, and I wasn't expecting stuff like that in this game at all. Some of the side quests do feel a little samey, and I don't mean that in a bad way, because they're a lot of fun, especially some of the spirit stuff, and the rewards are completely worth it. I sort of went on a media blackout after my initial disappointment with some of the aforementioned early footage in the game. I didn't want to see anything else. I was seriously like, if I'm going to play this, it will be when I want and not because everyone is hyping it up. This team, I don't know how they did it, but I became convinced early on in my experience that I was playing one of the best games in the generation. I don't care that it borrows from other genres or maybe a little bit more cinematic than some of the other God of War games. This is one of the better Sony exclusives, in my opinion, because you spend a lot more time playing and exploring than you do watching cutscenes. So those that know me and know me well, you can bet your last dollar I'm going to praise them for that. It calls for it, and they're deserving, period. Gameplay above all, especially when there's a lot of it to enjoy.
No. But at least I know the truth now.
The truth. The truth. I am a god, boy. From another land far from here.
I can remember thinking that this story would leave me feeling like, I guess this was okay. And again, I was wrong. I think part of the love here comes from the fact that I'm a fan of God of War games, and the lore in God of War 2018 is very appealing to me. Once I knew where we were headed in this one, and I seen Odin's name pop up in an article as a possibility, or maybe it was leaked or something, I was like, they're going to do it. They didn't quite get there in this game. They didn't go as far as I thought the developers would, but what's here is still really awesome. And this needs to be said. I still like the original voice actor more. For me, he's the better option. I do wish he was in this project. That's not my call. But Christopher Judge did an amazing job here, and I have no hate whatsoever. If anyone else was going to do Kratos, especially the way that he's portrayed in this game, they got the right guy. He is what I would consider the perfect replacement. There's been a lot of talk since this game's release, or even before its release for that matter, as to whether or not this Kratos is softer or more sensitive, I guess. I completely understand why someone would feel that way, but I disagree. I think this Kratos knows exactly who he is. He knows that he's still a monster. He knows that he's still a scumbag in many ways. Kratos knows that there is no changing that. And I think monsters can still love their wife. They can still love their children. I don't think that that makes him soft in terms of how amazing he can be, or, that anger that he can turn off and right back on again at any time. I also didn't appreciate the other side of that debate that was trying to claim that the old Kratos in the old God of War games featured a Kratos that was one-dimensional and very boring. I won't spend too much time debating that with you and just say that I think we played very different games. I think Kratos could be very caring in the older titles and at times merciful. I just think that we've advanced so much, we've come so far on the technical side of things that the cinematic stuff that we see in games now can display this and showcase it a lot better. The ability to be better, a better Kratos, is more apparent in this game than anything before it. I would say it's about 90% of your journey is spent with Atreus, who is the son of Kratos. And I thought he'd be really annoying to have around, but this kid actually put in work for the role. I genuinely felt like this was a kid that felt his father didn't want him and was devastated by earlier events in the game that led you down this path. And those early events do set the tone for the entire game. The ashes, the stranger, Kratos telling Atreus that they'll meet a lot of resistance along the way. Guys, it's So well done. This isn't the most amazing thing you'll see in terms of writing or, oh my God, I can't believe they did that type of moments in the story. Again, what it does well enough, and in my opinion, it gets the job done. You'll meet a good handful of characters and see some excellent set pieces along the way, but I gotta say that next to Kratos, Braun and Sindri are probably my favorite. I can't wait to learn more about them and some of the other great characters in this game. The World Serpent, I think the World Serpent is going to play a massive role in the now confirmed sequel to this game. It's going to be amazing. I'm getting excited just thinking about it now. Like, how amazing is that game going to be? Why do we have to wait? Probably because if we don't wait, we're going to end up with what you see as the result of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One version of Cyberpunk. That's why waiting and polishing your game and as many delays as necessary, that's why we have to wait for God of War Ragnarok. That's why. If I don't say anything negative about God of War 2018 in this review, there's going to be someone in the comment section telling me I have God of War or PlayStation bias. You couldn't be further from the truth. I have my gripes, but they're minor. For example, I'm Kratos, okay? I'm the God of War, to be exact. I'm capable of all of this amazing stuff. I have many accomplishments that I can boast about. Many are on display in this game. But why is it that I can move entire structures that weigh millions and millions of pounds and easily make my way up this giant troll, but for some crazy reason, I can't destroy or jump over this tiny rock that's blocking my way to this treasure? It's little things like that. It's called padding. It's called padding, ladies and gentlemen, and I understand why it was done. So me personally, I'm not going to dock any points from the game. God of War 2018 is a 10. It is one of the best games of the generation, and for me, one of the best games I've ever played. It's that well done. It's that well polished. One of the most polished games I've also played this generation. This may be my favorite God of War behind 3. I still think 3 is the peak. Currently, it's the peak. Maybe that'll change. Maybe Ragnarok will become my favorite. But I still think 3 is the best. But this is damn good. This is, right there with it. 1A, 1B, or, a very close second. I know that some will always prefer the older games, and they're great, especially 3. But this one is special, too. To me, I think it's special, but I am a fan of these games. In its own right, it's very special. This game gave me so much enjoyment and so little frustration, as all games should. Games should first and foremost be fun. We all know that. I've said it countless times. God of War is what I wanted, and I didn't even know it. I'm sure a lot of you felt that way. I really do think that highly of this game. Did Red Dead 2 get robbed of Game of the Year? Maybe. That depends on who you ask. Red Dead 2 is one of the best games I've ever played as well. If you told me you thought God of War is a lot better than Red Dead 2, hey, you know what? I disagree. I'm not going to fight you on it because both are amazing games. It's a great game, and I've been excited to see what's coming next from the studio immediately after finishing it the first time last year. It's going on my must-play list, and yeah, it's a 10. God of War is a 10. Why the hell haven't you played this game already? It's been like $10 a billion times at this point. I said what I said, man. Deal with it. Like it, love it, hate it, thumbs up, thumbs down. I understand if the next game played, more like the older titles with modern visuals, I'd still play it and probably love it too. Thank you guys for watching. As always, man, I really do appreciate it. You guys seem to love these reviews. Check out my links in the description. All of that helps me as well. And in the next review, we will take a look at what is now considered the 2020 Game of the Year, The Last of Us 2, and I will give you my thoughts on that. Have a good one, guys. Peace.